In Matthew chapter 5, in verse 16, Jesus says, in the same way, and he's talking about the idea of his followers will be salt and will be light, will be difference makers in the world. He says, in the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. It's a blessing in my life to be able to be a part of events where we get to go do things, where we get to show good works. It's probably a little more orchestrated maybe than Jesus was talking about, but it's still an opportunity to do good works for other people. Just day before, Friday, we got home, 32 of us. It's weird. We left with 29, we got home with 32. Usually it's the other way around. But 29 of us left here 6:30 Saturday morning to head to Mountain States Children's Home in Longmont, Colorado to put in a week's, 3 days at least, kind of 4 days worth of work. We have done this trip now every other year for 8 years. This was our family's 4th trip. I believe Russell's 4th time, Lauren's 4th time. But we had several who have been before, but we had several on this trip who had never been before. If you were on this trip, stand up, please. There's 2 standing up back there. Now, you guys stay standing up. Now, if you've been on this trip before, stand up, too, please. No, stay standing. Blue shirts, stay standing. Add the other people. There's a lot of people in this congregation who have been involved in the work there at Mountain States. At Mountain Home. No, at Mountain States. Okay, thank you guys. Like I said, we left here with 29. I'll explain how we ended up with more when we get along there. But we left out, like I said, early Saturday morning. It takes about 15 hours, plus or minus. We make one stop in Buell, Burley, somewhere over there, to change drivers, because our drivers can just drive 10-hour stretches. So we stop for a driver change, and then we stop again for lunch, and we stop again for... Look how happy they look. They don't know. They don't know what's about to happen. But then, like I said, we drive all day Saturday, and then we get in Saturday night to the children's home there in Longmont. I was telling the elders this afternoon, it's really cool to be a part of this trip with this group, because we have so many who have gone before. We got in there Saturday night, and it was like the guys and girls who have been before just went and got the mattresses and got the cots, and it was like they know where the stuff is stored, they know where they're supposed to go, and it's just we just kind of move in, and the Mountain States people just kind of get out of the way, and it's like, here we come. But we got in, 9 o'clock, 9:30 Saturday night. We got settled in fairly decently, and went to worship then Sunday morning with the congregation there on Collier Street in Longmont. It was very interesting. It was providential, it seems to me, in some way. Edward, I can never think of his last name, the preacher there at Longmont, was doing a series on the nature, the characteristics of Jesus. And last Sunday morning, he was doing, his topic was Jesus as a servant. And he talked about service. He talked about even great big service compared to little bitty things that are service is still service. And I was like, wow, how weird is this? But he talked about service. Then at the end of services, a young man got up who is a Mountain States graduate, I guess is how you say that. A young man named Zach that we have seen there in years past. And he is moving out of Mountain States. He's going to Grand Junction to go to a small college there in Grand Junction. But he got up and talked about what an impact Mountain States had on his life. He said that when he first went there, he thought this was the worst possible thing that could ever happen in his life, and it turned out to be the best. Said he came from a family with a religious background outside of God's Word, and he said that, I didn't know what to think, but now he knows. And he's a Christian young man with a bright future. And it was so cool to be there with everybody on this trip going, okay, so that's why we're here, because of that, because this happens, that lives change. Yeah, lives don't change because we mow their dirt grass for them, but we do our part. We're there to do what we can. So we go to worship Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon, we come back and we just kind of start hanging out for Sunday. We just spend some time getting to know their kids, getting to know each other. One of the things that you'll notice in this picture is we had ages down to from Bodie up to whoever was the oldest person on the trip. I won't say that. But you'll see, but I mean, we're all hanging out together. It's such a cool thing, the way that all works out. And Sunday, I don't know if this was Sunday or not, but there's time for us just to have some downtime, to get to know them, to get acclimated. And your kids do this so well. That's one of the things that I just find so incredible. That, I mean, they meet these kids that they've never met before. Some of them maybe they saw on the last trip, but they're friends immediately. And they're playing cards, they're playing games. This is our ladies, except for Michelle Kish. Somehow she missed out on this picture. But one of our concerns about 2 months out was I didn't think we were going to have enough guys. I didn't know that some of the younger guys, I wasn't sure that they were coming for sure. But we ended up with 14 guys and 5 girls. But it worked out. The girls, if you don't know how we stay, you'll see pictures of the gym here in just a minute. Well, here it is, for instance. This is the guys' sleeping quarters. There's another little place up here you can't see. But the guys stay out here, see their beds along there. And then on this end of that picture is the school where they have school for the kids who do school there at Mountain States. Well, the ladies stay in the school part. So there's separate bathroom facility in there for the girls. There's a set of showers and bathrooms out in the gym, and it just kind of works. It's where if you're in the gym and you're trying to go to sleep and somebody coughs on the other side of the gym, everybody wakes up. But that's how it goes. But they spend the time in our downtime playing games like this picture you see here. There's some of our kids, and there's some of our kids, and then these are the Mountain States house parents and some of the kids there. We also eat every meal together. I was telling Russell that about a month, I guess at the beginning of June, Nick Mears runs the service project things during the summer. He is Randy Scow's son-in-law. Several of you know Randy. He's been coming up here for years. But Nick said when he put up the schedule of the summer for who all was coming to do service projects, that the house parents would see the list and they'd go, Linder's coming this summer. And it's like, it makes you feel good. It's Russell. They're excited because Russell cooks every meal for the Mountain States people and us. So it's like a week off for the house parents also. And that is so appreciated. In fact, I was looking at their Facebook page today to steal pictures from them. And they even mentioned something on one of the pictures about, Russell and Deb and Robert involved with preparing the meals. We're so excited to have them here. Oh yeah, and those other 30 people they brought. But that is such an amazing benefit for them to be able to just to sit and talk to adults, to sit and talk to other grown-ups, to see their kids that they're working so hard with every day, interacting with other kids and playing and having fun. There was one young man that I guess was kind of in trouble when we got there because he had to sit right next to Geneva the whole first day. He's one of the house moms, and I heard him a couple of times go, "Can I go play basketball?" She'd just go, "Stop asking." And he'd say, "Can I go play cards?" "Stop asking." But eventually he was able to join in with some of the things. When we do our meals, this is another thing that Nick says is kind of unique to our group. We have, for breakfast, we have 2 of the guys help with setup and cleanup because it happens out in the gym. So they just get up and stagger over there and start helping. But then for lunch and for dinner, we have any combination of 3 kids. Help Russell with setup, whatever he needs done that they can do, they do that. They serve the food, and then they help with cleanup. So, and then every day we had the guys split up into groups that would clean the bathroom and clean up the sleeping area. And there were responsibilities even for our group within our group. So that's good to see them doing that. But this is what happened a whole lot in some of our downtime. I'll get to this here in a minute. But then, like I said, we spent Sunday just kind of getting to know them getting to know us. I thought I broke it. And like I said, sharing meals together. It's so cool to watch our kids when it's mealtime. It's sometimes they sit with each other, but always there's the Mountain States kids smattered in there with them. And I guess see we even eat too. Then it was time for the work days. Monday we began our work days. This is the list that Nick sent me. In years past, it is like this much maybe. We have, for those of you who remember the great tarring crisis of 2008, where we tarred the road, that was what we almost all did the whole time. Some of them were off doing mowing. Seems like every year Brad went, he ended up mowing like he never does that in the summer. But and that's what you see here. This is kind of what it was. I added that because that's if you had an option in the mornings, you couldn't find something else to do, mow something. But I scratched it. I tried to put a line through the stuff that I think we didn't get done. But we did so many different things, which was really cool because it was like we'd split up into our work groups, and in the mornings, there were some mornings, working from 9 to noon that we'd do 2 things, and we'd never done that before. It's usually go do one thing for the morning, maybe something else in the afternoon, usually the whole thing for the whole day. But we were all over the place. This is the one Robert and I were fighting over. We wanted to do, where'd it go? Somewhere. There's one that just says check. Oh, this one. Check the wooden playground. We were fighting over who got to just go check the playground. There it is. I'm done. But like I said, we split our team, all the teens up into 3 different work groups. This right here, this is Silas Shadig. Like I said, we left with 29. Well, wait, we left with 28 because we picked Silas up at a truck stop, literally. We did. We picked him up in Tremonton, Utah. He is in Logan. For those of you who went to Guatemala in 2008, that's little Silas that went with us. Silas is, 22 now. And Silas, like I said, we picked him up at a truck stop in Tremonton. He came with us. We invited the Logan Youth Group to go with us because the Logan Youth Group is pretty much 2 families. But that was when we thought we were in a boys' crisis, but obviously we weren't. But we had, like I said, we had Silas that went with us from Logan, and then the Quintero family was here this morning. Zeke Quintero is from Jordan Valley, Utah, or Oregon. And he's been going to camp the last several years. He came with us. His family all visited this morning from Jordan Valley. That's not like Garden City. That's a long ways. But they wanted to come meet this congregation because of the experience that he had and has had with this congregation. So we start the work projects. I don't know how this picture of them not working. I think I put that picture in there because Caitlin, Luke, and Parker has a new meeting now than it used to have. Because it used to be Caitlin, Luke, and Big Parker, but now it's a new Parker. But so, like I said, there's Doug working. And Doug met us there. Doug and Laura came home with us. Lord, is that right? Thought I messed that up. But they came home with us. Doug just finished up his AIM work at Meadowlark there in Fort Collins, and is going to start school. But they came home with us for a little while in between time. And then Connor Harvey also met us there. So that's how our numbers got larger instead of smaller. We don't usually pick people up. But we got all our assignments to find out what we're supposed to do. There's our work project team's very blurry for some reason. We're always group 3 for some reason. But then the work, it's just all kinds of different stuff. I don't even know what they're doing there. Oh, is that the bushes? Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were like bushes. And what Nick told us is that the reason they like it when we come, because we're the only group that comes as consistently, apparently, as we do. is he said that when they meet and say, okay, we need 5 of you to go trim the bushes by the DC, we know what that means. We're going to the distribution center. If he says we need 5 of you to go work on the shop, we know what that is. We know where to go. They don't have to tell us. In fact, they didn't even give us a tour this year. We've always gotten a tour. They didn't give us a tour. They're like, you like people work here now, kind of. But we had like I said, we had so many small projects to work on that it was kind of nice to get one thing done, move on to something else. Not all the work projects involved shovels and mowing. There was lunches to be made. Lauren helped with making lunches. He helped with work projects. Here, Robert, I don't remember what day this was, but they're out grilling. Robert said it got up to like 200 degrees around the grills. I don't doubt it. But that was part of the work projects as well. This is our group working, just cleaning up one of the house parents' house, their yard, just with all the stuff that they have to do, working with their kids. This is actually Geneva and Paul. Is that his name? Paul's house. Paul's had some health problems, so their yard had gotten away from them. So we attacked their yard and trimmed bushes and these giant grass things, all kinds of stuff. This was everybody's favorite project. It was cleaning out the cattle guard that we finished, and the other group went and just kind of hung around it the next day and took credit for it. No, this is a cattle guard that over time, I mean, literally the earth comes out of it. So you have to knock it back down so the cattle will treat it like they'll avoid it. And we got there, we pulled out a bunch of weeds and we knocked it down some, but then another group came behind us the next day and leveled it out quite a bit. But that's an interesting job to try and do with shovels and things that aren't designed for that. But like I said, one of the questions I asked him one night doing our devotional was, how many of you have done something you've never done before this week? And I did. We all had to. Almost every one of us raised our hand. There were people doing stuff that maybe they've never done before. So parents, don't buy the whole, I don't know how to do, I can never. They can learn. It's amazing. This group, I don't know what they were doing. They were driving around that truck all morning that one day with branches and stuff hanging out of it. They're just going back and forth. But now, these two. One thing that we've done every year is that we've had some younger kids that come with us. The parents are there as chaperones, so they have to bring a younger kid. The first year, our water people were Caitlin, Mia, and Luke. Well, then 2 years later, Caitlin and Mia had moved up into the teen group, so Luke was solo water boy for a year. And then last trip was Dakota Oldham was solo water boy. Well, this year we got a pair. We had Owen and Bodie as our water boys. But these guys not just delivered water all over the place, blowing their whistle. I'm telling you, I'm going to be at a basketball game in the future. I'm going to hear a whistle. I'm going to want a water bottle. Water. Because they would, in order to keep them from having to just roam all over the place, we'd say, get to where you can see a group and blow this whistle. And have the group come to you or let them know you're there and you take water to them. But they also helped with cleanup at every meal. They carried that trash can around, stole your food from you if you weren't quite done eating. They'd just take everything. But these two guys worked hard. These guys worked as hard as anybody. But before you get all sad, feeling sorry for them, it was not all work for these two. Poor Bodie, he made no friends. Owen didn't have any fun. It was torture for these two. This is they're coming down to where we were at the end of this one driveway that is kind of the farthest end. So Nick would pull them back and forth with the full four-wheeler. That was part of the deal. But just all kinds of different projects. This is a fence that needed repaired out kind of far away on the property. This is a huge property. I was telling our elders that when we first started this, I think in 2008 or whenever it was, that one of the ideas was to try and make this not just a teen trip, but if any adults want to come, they have trailer hookups and everything there, a few of them, I think. But it is so, that's why I had everybody stand that's ever been there. Because, you can hear me describe it and everything, and I can show you the pictures. But until you actually see how this place runs, this is a vast, I mean, like this, I was telling them, it's like a little town. They've got their own store, they're a farm, they've got their school, they're self-supporting. They are for adoption and child care services, whatever that is actually, however that would actually be called. In the state of Colorado, they are number 2 on the reference list, behind the state. So the state is number 1. There's a state department that's number 1. They're number 2. They're the state of Colorado accredited. They have all the benefits of being a state accredited association, but they take no money from the state. All their money comes from members of the church. And that is staggering. I mean, just to see what they do there. They now have a thrift store. That, you know how we have the collection that we do for them every year for the food and the food drive and everything. They were getting so many donations from people that they were like, we don't have a place to put it. What if we opened a thrift store? So they opened their own little savers in Longmont. And that is providing, what did he say, like $80,000 a year to the school. So it's or to the home. It's an amazing place. But this is fixing the fence way out in the middle of nowhere on the edge of the property. Again, needless to say, it wasn't all work. There was still time for some fun and some discovery. Caitlin and Amelia found a ladybug or something incredibly fascinating. But why does it stop working on me once in a while? There, I'm on. There we go. This was the wood pile. This literally started out. I mean, this wood pile. There's Chloe. She's got a chainsaw. But this wood pile right here started out probably about this big, and we chopped up telephone poles. I mean, seriously, they were. That's when I asked that night, have anybody done something they've never done before? Blake said, carried a telephone pole. Because they were having to drag them from up the side of this little embankment up there, and then we cut them up and made it into firewood for the houses and for their fire pit there at the home. The last day, Doug and Luke went and helped. Was that Roy's truck or whose truck was it? Roy's truck. Tried to work on the brakes for that. And then, like I said, there's so much diversity of stuff that we were asked to do. This is Michelle and Nicholas sorting clothes in the distribution center. I asked Nicholas at the end of this day how the day went. He goes, I never want to see clothes again. Because there's a massive amount of stuff. This was one of my favorite pictures. I have another picture that I took just before this that is just a cloud of dust, and you see 2 hats, one cowboy hat and a cap. And I was like, maybe I should actually find the people in there. That's Parker and Dakota. This was all, Monday morning? Tuesday morning, one of the mornings, back and forth dust cloud the whole morning. But a lot of work. Obviously, again, not all work. There was some time for a little bit of fun here and there for some of us. What is happening? Why does this keep shutting off? Let's try this again. Okay. And this is a picture of Roy, who was kind of their farm manager, and his pet dog, and then Mr. Wiggles. For some reason, 2 years ago, Roy adopted Luke. He calls him John Henry because one of the first jobs he had him do was swing a hammer. So he's John Henry. So it was Luke. We had to scratch him out of his work group because he belonged to Roy for the week. Yeah, so there you see it. There it is. And there's Luke or Mr. Wiggles again on the back of the. I was just getting ready for the first set of projects. And then Wednesday we stopped a little early and got dressed, cleaned up and everything. Went to worship with the congregation there at Longmont again. Again, we had time just to kind of relax a little bit before that happened. One of the things we also do every morning and every evening, except Wednesday evening we didn't because we had worship, is that we would do our own devotionals. Is that we would try and have some time to where we emphasize the spiritual aspects of the work that we were doing. Blake did one, I did one, Jeremy did one, Parker did a devotional. So Josh did one. I didn't leave you out. But again, it's just a good time. And our morning devotionals were just with us, so that was kind of our own time together. Then, what is happening? Sorry, this is driving me crazy. This keeps dying on me. Why does it do that? No, the battery's full. It says it's full anyway. So I'll just draw it for you. Let's paint a mental picture of what's next. Okay, well here's what happened. I'll tell you what's going to happen next. Thursday, we work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday is our fun day. So Thursday morning we got up early and we took the bus. Oh, let me tell you that too before we go to this, now that it's working. Our bus driver is a guy named Mo Ankeny, who lives, I believe, over in Caldwell. He's been our driver 3 of the 4 trips. And I mean, this sounds bad, but he loves us. I mean, he hangs out with, he eats every meal with us. He sits around, and when we left, he had to quit driving in Twin Falls on the way home. He got on the little bus mic, and he told us all bye and how much he appreciated us and how we treat him so well. And he sounded like he got a little choked up because he just spent the week with it. And he said nobody ever treats him the way that we treat him. And that speaks very well for your kids. That speaks very well for this congregation. So Mo takes us Thursday morning into Estes Park. We get off that bus onto the buses that take you up into Rocky Mountain National Park. And we go to this hike called Alberta Falls. And it's a beautiful hike. This is us as a group on a rock thing there on the hike. But it's not a scary hike. There's a couple of spots that, as I told them, it's not scary unless you're dumb, so don't be dumb. Just take the hike. This is just our kids. This is, I meant to say this earlier, this of course is not all of our kids. Some of our kids had to make a choice between going to Mountain States and going to preteen camp. This was not for preteens because this is just a teen trip from us, but our teenagers who are old enough can be counselors at preteen camp. So, you know, that was a choice some of them had to make, whether they wanted to go to preteen camp as a counselor, as a CIT, or come on this trip. Either way, they were doing just what Jesus said. You know, letting their light shine before men so that people will see their good works and that God will be glorified. I wish it would have worked out with our timing, that we would have been able to have everybody who wanted to go, but we had 3 weeks to pick from, and the other 2 were just not going to work. But this is the kids that were there. And this is the next picture of the kids that were there. And then, boof, there's Silas. He shows up in the middle. And Adam turns around. But that was just a spot we stopped to take the picture. This is coming back down the trail. Just a beautiful, beautiful hike. It was nice to have, you know, the matching shirts. Except there was like 3 people on the trail with us that had the same color shirts. I was like, hey, mister. Sorry, stranger. But like I said, we go up through the trees, go up to this top of this waterfall. Very, very pretty scene. Really, really a good time for the kids to, after working so hard, to get out and experience something that maybe some of them have never done before, to see such a beautiful place. And then from here we go into Estes Park, which, if you don't know Estes Park, Colorado, it's a little resort town, shops and, you know, snack places, and like 13 saltwater taffy stores and everything you need. This is a high-level conference, I think, the last night. And like I said, this is sleeping quarters, mattresses on the floor, or that other thing that Luke sleeps in. He does every year and survives. But and now again, look at this, and right there in the middle, Bodie in his natural habitat. But this, of course, is one of the constant basketball games going on. Unless they did have this year a pickleball net, which is tennis. I don't know why it's called pickleball, but that came out a couple times, so that kind of limited some of the constant basketball that usually takes place. But then Friday morning we got up early and headed back. We got out of there about 7, so we got everybody up and around 6:30 and got loaded up heading back. Let me say this too. if you've noticed in the fellowship hall, you're probably going, wait, didn't they ask for water to take with them? Yeah, we did. We took a ton of water that you all provided for this trip. But I think we may have, as chaperones, maybe overemphasized the reuse your water bottle thing, because we brought a whole lot back, but it's going to go to teen camp. So thank you again for all that, for the snacks and everything else. That's really cool. That's another thing. When we unload the bus and they see all this water, they're like, how did this? We say, this is what our congregation gave us. This is what our congregation wanted us to bring for this trip. And it's just another little way that people notice things. But we loaded up, got it all headed back here, all of us headed back here, which eventually turned into this on the way back. The trip back is always so pleasant. Until you get home. And then there's always time for one more picture right before you leave. But it was a great trip. I know on behalf of those of us who went as chaperones. Oh, let me tell you who that was, in fact. I meant to do that starting off here. Here's who all was involved in this thing. You've seen most of them. Luke Alligood, Deb, Lauren, and Russ Angel, Nicholas Bortz, Alicia, Amelia, and Owen Coleman, Bodie Parker and Sherry Kotz, the Davisons, the four of us, Connor Harvey, Adam, Ethan, and Jeremy Havlick, Josh Joes, David, Doug, and Michelle Kish, Dakota and Robert Oldham, Kendall Patterson, Zeke Quintero, Silas Shadig, Carissa Schlochter, Chloe Schlochter, and Connor Seagraves, and Laura Bradley that we were able to bring home with us. Sounds like we stole her. But on behalf of those of us who went as chaperones, be proud of your kids. Your kids worked hard. There was very minimal complaining. If there was complaining, it was dealt with in a, hey, we're all working together. Let's get it over. Let's change the attitude. Very little of that. The way these kids worked and worked with the Mountain States kids it's just so cool to see. And again, it's something that you as parents, you as grandparents, you as adults who influence these kids, Bible class teachers for most of their lives, whatever, be proud of these kids. One of the things that we talked about in one of our devotionals, in fact, one of the things that Edward talked about in his lesson Sunday morning was Colossians 3, verse 22. And I thought this was kind of ironic because it starts, bondservants, obey in everything those who are your earthly masters. And we kind of made the connection. That's not really who we are for this week, but it's going to kind of feel like it by about Tuesday afternoon. But the idea is when you're working for someone else is giving you instructions. Those who are your earthly masters, not by way of eye service as people pleasers, but with sincerity of heart, fearing the Lord. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. I believe that this week, those few days was an opportunity, whether it was this Mountain States trip or the kids who were serving as counselors at preteen camp. That shows the people around them. That's what we told these kids. Those kids at Mountain States are looking out their windows while they're doing their chores, and they're seeing you doing the work that they don't want to do. And that means something. And when they come in to the gymnasium to share lunch or share dinner with you, and you guys scoot over and make room for them, and there's a meal prepared that their house parents didn't have to make, that means something to them. And the attitude that was shown to them, to the home itself, just like I said, was so admirable. And I believe that it absolutely fits this whole idea of what Paul says, that you are serving the Lord Christ. I want to look just real quick again at what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, beginning in verse 14. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand. And it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. It's interesting that Jesus doesn't say that they're going to see your Bible knowledge, or they're going to see your attendance at worship, or they're not going to see your suit and tie. They're going to see your good works. And I believe we had 32 people presenting good works. And like I said, more than that, if you count the kids who are preteen camp. But as I said when we started this, that these are events. These are planned things that we can look forward to, we can mark on the calendar, we can project out in front and make an effort to do. But what Jesus is talking about is what we do every day. Is that we are the light of the world. And yes, we can't make trips to serve at a children's home every week. It just isn't possible. For almost all of us. But we can serve the people around us. And we can let the people around us know that we're serving them, that we're being the light that Jesus asks us to be, so that they will not glorify us, not glorify Linda Road congregation, not glorify me or you, but that they'll glorify God. And that's the point. And Jesus says that that's what his followers will be. This evening, if you're at a position, if you're in a position as a Christian, maybe, where you know that you're not serving, whether it's serving as your service to this congregation or just serving those around you the way you'd like to, and you'd like us to pray with you tonight, let us do that. We're going to stand here in a minute and sing a song. If you're not a Christian, and maybe you've seen something about this or something about service or just something about being in the family of God, something that you'd like to know more about, if there's anything that we can do to help you, let us know that while we stand together and sing.